Facebook audience of Theatre Bath the question to PowerPoint or not to PowerPoint, and the response was, no, don't do PowerPoint, do interpretive dance. So I had prepared something, having not danced publicly before. However, I'm a bit worried about upstaging Daniel, so I'm going to go with the second. Well, I'll maybe go with the second idea, which was to use Prezi. Has anybody used Prezi before? Oh, that's a shame. Am I using Prezi, Luke?
We didn't log you in, did we?
Oh, we didn't. You're not going to see my Prezi either. So I made a Prezi last night, but in a way, given that some of you have used it before, that's pretty good because it was a bit of a primary school effort. So it was a visual prompt, and it had some interesting pictures and things in, or maybe not. So I'm going to now do it naked, which is very interesting. So I'm seeing this brilliant Prezi I created in my head. You're just going to have to imagine it. So I started off with this thing on this pathway that said, "Who am I anyway?" That was a bit of a musical theatre reference. Anybody know where Who Am I Anyway is from?
Oh God, it's from Chorus Line.
It is from Chorus Line. This is really cheap, but he gets a prize. I'll tell you about that prize in a minute. So who am I anyway? I'm Tracy Sullivan, and you would have now seen some cheesy pictures of me in some amateur theatre performances. Because a bit like Luke, that's sort of where I started. I did Annie when I was 8, and then as an independent 12-year-old I decided that I wanted to go and be involved in theatre. My parents weren't. It's just where I found myself, and it was my family for all of my formative years. They were absolutely the rock, and still are to this day, those people that I met and worked with back then. And my excuse for showing you the cheesy photographs I have in my head was that one of the things about what I'm hoping to do throughout this, by the way, is talk about budget gaps. And so if I'm going on and I'm not fitting that brief, please heckle the gap at me, and I shall try to bring it into what we're talking about. So I think there is this feeling that there's a bit of a them and us, and I wanted to talk about amateur theatre and how important it was for me, because that is where I started. That was my passion. That I have always been an us, and I suspect some people now look at me and think I'm a bit of a them. I'm not a them. I am an us, as I think actually we all are. We're all passionate about why we're doing what we're doing. So that was amateur theatre. I thought that really to have a career in theatre, you either taught drama or you became a professional actor. I didn't know there was anything else. I knew I was a bit of a home bird and not a strong enough character to have the nomadic life of an actress. So I went to university to study English and Religious Studies, of course. I didn't finish that degree. I became quite unwell and came out, and so I've not got a degree. Second bridging the gap. Not really talked about that today. I have had fantastic opportunities to work professionally within the arts, but I'm not a graduate. I do not have a degree. My first job, my next picture was the art theatre. My first job was an amazing guy, Derek Newland, who nod or put your hand up if you know yet. Derek is my idol in professional arts in and around this region. Despite being the only one who was being interviewed for the marketing officer of the art, I was the only one who didn't have a degree, and I had a 1- and a 2-year-old. And Derek said to me in this interview, we were obviously really passionate, but how on earth can you convince me you can do this job? And I thought, bloody hell, actually, I don't know how I can convince you I can do this job. But they offered it to me, which was absolutely amazing. So I began working at the art theatre as a part-time marketing officer and went on to be director. I left the ARC because I had 2 young children and I was working 70-hour weeks. My daughter was in reception, and one of the mums in the reception class got a virus and died within 24 hours of getting that virus, and I just thought, what on earth am I doing? I'm spending all of my time doing this job, doing this amazing work that is so important for the community to have, but, you know, there is actually more to life. So I left the art, not knowing what earth I was going to do. It had become my master status. That had become what amateur theatre had become for me as a teenager. It had become my life and my family. But I left. From there, I began to work for Wiltshire Arts Promoters, which was a freelance job. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Wiltshire Arts Promoters. Whilst I was at Wiltshire Arts Promoters, the art theatre, which some of you may or may not know. Small receiving venue in Trowbridge, was supported brilliantly by Wiltshire College for many years. They decided that they no longer wanted it to be a professional venue. They didn't want to invest in emerging work, in new writing, in professional touring performance for the community anymore. We lobbied about this, and that didn't look like changing. So I was aware that this amazing building in the centre of Trowbridge, Trowbridge Town Hall, was being offered for what's called asset transfer. So Wiltshire College basically was a bit of a liability. They wanted a community group to naively say, we'll have it, and convince them that they could sustain it. So that naive member of the community was me saying, do you know what, that is where we need to put the arts in Trowbridge. It needs to be in the heart of our community, right next to that bus stop, where everybody of every different background will see what amazing, exciting opportunities the arts brings to people. So that was 4 years ago. From there, within a couple of weeks of standing up at public meetings saying this is what I thought, we managed to get £16,000 to start doing the paperwork that you have to do to convince people to know what you're talking about. And then wrote a G4A for the Arts Council. And I have to say, you know, I am a real supporter of the Arts Council. I think they do an incredibly difficult job. And I have had a very positive relationship with them. And against all the odds, they gave Trowbridge Arts, Trowbridge being, by the way, do people know Trowbridge? Trowbridge. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your perception of Trowbridge is. If anybody's brave enough to tell me what their perception of Trowbridge is. Which no, tracks and club. Do you know, I don't know what it is about the clubs in Trowbridge, but they seem to have a different name every few months. So whether it's to dodge the police or... Beach now. Is it called Beach? It's been a number of horrendous... Yeah, they have like beach clubs. Enough to say, to use a bit of art speak, it has a local apprentice team to the attendance of professional arts in Trowbridge. It has 3 of the 5 most deprived areas of Wiltshire within it. Absolutely the people and the community who deserve to have inspirational, quality, inspiring, amazing arts on their doorstep. They need it. They really deserve it. So I wrote this bid for, I think it was £86,000 to the Arts Council. Had fantastic support from Wiltshire Council, who put 16 grand in. Our town council, who never invested in the arts, put £2,500 in. It's not massive, but it was really, really important, because what it said was, we're all in this together. We all want to make this work. So we got the money. And I was saying earlier about there's something horrendous about getting a yes. You know, if you've written bids to the Arts Council, you know, if you've got your little envelope, you're going to go and cry in your Prosecco. If you've got a big envelope, you're going to cry harder in your Prosecco, because you're thinking, oh my God, I've given birth to this thing I've got to bring up. Shit, can I do what I said I would do? And so 2 years of Trowbridge Arts. So Trowbridge Arts, to be clear, is a programme of professional activity. So we buy in professional touring work with an absolute drive to supporting emerging artists and emerging companies. We have, in fact, 2 of our emerging companies that we've worked with in the last year in the room. We've got Lizzie at the back, who's director of Folio Theatre, who are an associate company with us, and I hope we helped their first ever show as a new company go out, and it's having a reincarnation as sort of second round of tour. And you know, we can't do much, but we do what we can. So in this case, it was trying to have conversations with other venues on that company's behalf, to give space to work up the show, and to just be there to just tell them it's all right, actually. Which, when you're new and not knowing, you know, what the world out there is like, you know, just talking is sometimes helpful. And we have Natalie of Light and Lark as well, who, again, I hope we helped with their first early show that happened last year. So that is massively important for us. So we have a youth theatre, we have an SEN youth theatre, which I absolutely adore. Phoebe runs our youth theatre at Lark Price School. And they, again, we have a real, I think there's 160 young people, 140 young people at Lark Price. They are members of our community. They deserve to have all of the same opportunities that our other youth company do and that the rest of our community does. We also have regular art exhibitions, so every 6 weeks we have a different art exhibition, and that can be from the Derwent Art Prize, which I'm thrilled that we got. Katie went to a gallery in London and Trowbridge.
I have in my bedroom this beautiful booklet that the Derwent produced, and on the front page it has the Derwent Art Prize, Mel's exhibition in London and Trowbridge Arts. I mean, it's just, that is really, really exciting. It wasn't actually exciting when the truck opened up outside the town hall. I just saw it's like 78 pieces of work. And I mean, I don't have a visual arts background. I just think, oh my God, what on earth are we doing? I mean, some of this stuff was 25 grand's worth. It was just amazing. It's fantastic that we had it in Trowbridge. And we've had some amazing exhibitions. But we also making sure that we have opportunities for our community. So we're in the midst of Trowbridge Arts Festival at the moment, and that is our opportunity to say, come on everyone, whoever wants to have a go, just have a go. So although we strive to quality, we also absolutely want to give entry level fun and access to learning. So I say, so workshops, performance, visual art, that's sort of what we do. Now where am I going? So, yes, so my next slide. So then I give you a nice picture of all of the different logos of many of the partners that we work with. It wasn't all of them, so it's probably a good one I'm showing you. But we wouldn't have done it without the partnerships, it was going to be my point. So we work with Salford Playhouse, who helped us get our youth theatre off the ground. I was absolutely petrified about all of the things that when we're running a youth theatre in terms of child protection and getting all of that right. They were fantastic in helping us get that started. Salisbury Arts Centre were our box office to start with. Just great, our library, museum, just brilliant partnerships. So, and we absolutely would not have been able to achieve what we've achieved without those. So that was 2 years funding, and it was a bloody nightmare, absolutely complete nightmare. The funding was for a 2-day-a-week assistant and a 2-day-a-week director to deliver 35 professional performances to different venues around Trowbridge, visual art, blah, blah, blah. And I kept losing assistants because these are brilliant people. And again, this is a bit of a qualities thing. It really upsets me as someone who has the opportunity to employ people in the arts. Our lower jobs are badly paid. We would get 80 people apply for a really badly paid job who have got MAs. I mean, it's just shocking and upsetting when you're looking at a pile of amazingly talented people and you can't employ them. You can't give them work. I'm going to refer to Boundaries conference now. One of the people who spoke at Boundaries conference had been in arts HR for many years. And she had said, please, if there's one thing you take away from the Boundaries conference, do not put in your job descriptions essential degree. Why? Why do it? Apart from possibly a lazy way of filtering out all those applications. It's interesting. I look for work, as you do. And I have seen that more. What I'm interested in, and possibly worry for myself, however, is that the reality of applying for those higher level jobs in bigger organisations, whether that the fact they don't say they want a degree, whether that really will make a difference. I'll report back. This time next year when I'm off the job. So, 2-day-a-week art assistant, me 2 days a week. I was door-to-dooring in the rank 2 o'clock in the morning. We had to, and I didn't have an assistant often because I'd appoint really brilliant people. But then one got a management job at St George's in Bristol. Another one sadly had a mental health issue and realised once she'd started the job for a month, 6 weeks in, the erraticness of the hours, it wasn't a job I could say to her, you can come in at 10 and go at 1. I just couldn't do that. That isn't how this project could work. It needed flexible working. She couldn't, she just didn't feel comfortable, and so we lost her. So a lot of the time, I was trying to make it happen. 2 years funding, that was. Of course, then you've got your interim report, you get through that, then you're thinking, shit, we're getting towards the end of this phase. Now what? We started this, we can't stop. So I went in again, hallelujah, we got another 18 months from the Arts Council, incredible, and that's where we are. We are funding ends in June. So, I suppose what I want to say about all that, in the context of why I'm here, is that partnerships have absolutely been utterly key, both formal and informal. Friendship as well as partnership. Friendship with other leaders of arts organisations, other cultural organisations, members of the community, elected members, whoever they are. Friends are absolutely essential to your own sense of health and well-being, as well as the success of projects, I think, of any size. Then I was going to go on to Wiltshire Arts Promoters. So, prior to, in fact, while I was applying for Trowbridge Arts, I worked for Wiltshire Arts Promoters. Anybody heard of Wiltshire Arts Promoters? A few of you. I'm not going to ask you what you think of it, because I'm not sure. You can have a debate now, maybe we can later. Wiltshire Arts Promoters wasn't really what it says on the tin. There was a debate for quite a long time about changing Wiltshire Arts Promoters' name. It started from a few people, Derek Newland as discussed before, Paula who ran the Merlin at the time, and Keith who ran Wiltshire Music Centre, so that's Wiltshire and Somerset venues, used to sit round and they were friends. They sat round and talked to each other about what they were programming, why on earth they were in those jobs, they could do something else and earn a lot better money for much less stress, those sorts of things. They then stretched out, and it was all of the funding organisations came together. And it was very much about saying to, particularly the funded organisations, but not exclusively to the funded organisations, to anybody who wanted to be around that table, this is not about what we can do for you, it's about what you can do to support the arts ecology, what you can do to help making sure Wiltshire thrives and continues to be invested in, and that our audiences continue to get access to arts across the board. That's what Wiltshire Arts Promoters was about. I think it was a brilliant organisation. I was involved with it as just somebody who worked in a venue for a while, and then I became the officer to it, and we had Arts Council money which helped. And I have to say, I think what Wiltshire Arts Promoters tried to do is not dissimilar to what Theatre Arts trying to do, but to have a paid person, paid time, who can focus on ringing bells of those arts organisations, knocking on the doors of people that are working in the industry and say, hey guys, come on, you need to get around this table and we need to find a way where we, in our privileged situation as funded arts organisations, how we can make sure we're doing our bit. It wasn't perfect, Wiltshire Arts Promoters, because the resource was so small. We couldn't be everything for everybody. We couldn't include, well, everybody was invited to be part of it. We didn't say no to anybody. But the reality was, we couldn't look after all of the very many artists and freelancers that are working in the arts. But what we could do was work with these organisations. So the sorts of things that we did. We had some funding. The Wiltshire Council Art Service was in disarray and had been for a long time, and they were recruiting, and we really wanted to help the council put the right person in the job that was going to be looking after the arts for us. We wanted to make sure that they were the sort of person that could help Wiltshire achieve the goals that we believed we could. We weren't quite invited to the interview, but what we were able to do was to create a toolkit, to create things that we could give that person so that when they arrived, they knew what we wanted to tell them. They had our story, they understood the environment that they were working in. So one of the things we did was create a film. I'm just going to show you a couple of minutes. It's a 6-minute film, but I won't show you all of it. But this is just one of the examples of people investing their time for nothing from their arts organisations to create something that was an advocacy tool throughout the county and beyond. Don't go to that website.
I think it's very important that we provide the facilities for getting people to leave their houses occasionally and go and look at some live art. They will not only enjoy the live art, which is so much more interactive and impressive than watching on the television, but they'll also meet while they're out.
This is Oliver, Cindy.
We started doing things like carnival workshops, costume making workshops particularly, and over 10 years we've had hundreds and hundreds of people who now take part in that.
The workshops that we did, we learnt so many new techniques and easy techniques, particularly because they were based at using with children, that I used them as my job as a teaching assistant for school plays, for making outfits for the school plays, helping them in certain activities in school. It all came in really useful, the techniques we had learnt at the workshop.
Often the magic happens when you bring things together, and the centre is a focal point for that. We create outreach projects that go out into schools and do lots of excellent creative work in the schools. But the magic happens when all of those kids come together and can perform on a professional platform to their audience and really hear the power of their voices and the power of their music making.
A key part of our role in working with international artists is bringing the world to the people of Salisbury and of the surrounding Wiltshire area.
I don't know, it's just so beautiful and magnificent that it makes Salisbury a place to be.
Brings people together, community spirit, everybody working together.
We all ready? So there you go, there's a little taste of that film. Now, talking about Bridging the Gap is interesting because Trowbridge and Salisbury have this bit of a gap that is not entirely a happy one, in that Trowbridge, you may or may know, is the county town of Wiltshire. Salisbury, however, very much it feels the investment and the focus nonetheless. So that's another reason, I think, to keep supporting Salisbury and Trowbridge. So that's one thing that the Wiltshire Arts Promoters did. With communication strategies, elevator speeches, so if you're stuck in an elevator with an elected member, you know in your head what it is, you can tell them it's amazing about the arts in Wiltshire within 3 minutes, that sort of thing. We had regular conferences, not dissimilar to this. So I appreciate your pain, Luke. And we didn't have quite such clever technology back in that day either. And we created a website. So this was one of my babies. So what I'm going to tell you first, actually, was I think one of the most successful things about what we did with WAP was that I was aware that the leads of these arts organisations often had opportunities to meet with other leads of arts organisations, to pat each other on the back, to feel sorry for each other, to support each other. But our marketeers, our technicians, our HR people, our fundraisers, they didn't have those same opportunities to support each other, learn from each other, just meet together. So we set up some networks. The one that was most effective, or the one that most people got around the table at, was the marketing one. And it was a brilliant group. It was a group of people who didn't really know each other, but were absolutely friends through the process that it was implementing. And so we talked about things that we could do, joined up, supported by WAP, that it wouldn't be the responsibility of any one arts organisation. What came out of that was Wiltshire Loves Arts. You would have now seen the beautiful logo of Wiltshire Loves Arts on these USBs. There isn't enough. I thought I'd had enough for everybody, but I haven't, so I'll put a few on the table and forget that they happen. So Wiltshire Arts Promoters was about saying to the world how brilliant Wiltshire is and what a lot of diverse, brilliant arts and cultural activity there is in Wiltshire. I worked with Visit Wiltshire on this because we were really conscious that they are the face of tourism and the world, really, to what was going on in Wiltshire. But if you looked on their website, you'd see what Salisbury International Arts Festival and Playhouse are doing, and you really would not see anything else because the membership was so impenetrable for even the funded organisations of an average size that it in no way reflected what was going on. So the idea was that we would have a sister site that was connected to Visit Wiltshire's site, and this may be something that Bath might want to explore or not, but you're certainly welcome to engage in this website. The idea is that you can see what's going on in the region, if you live in the region, but also that we develop an idea of cultural tourism, that you can have an itinerary of arts events like you would have go on a walking holiday, you could go on a cultural holiday in Wiltshire. That's the idea. Idea great. Actually, it was really, really difficult. I mean, what are we, 3.5 years down the line? Luke, I even wrote Luke in at one point to try and help make this site work. It is up, it is running, it's clunky, it's not ideal, but it's there. So please do visit it, wiltshirelovesarts.co.uk, have a look at that. So that was something that came out of a need for the community, our cultural community, that wasn't one person's responsibility to do. So WAP was able to support and make that happen. really, I mean, I don't know how useful any of that is, and I don't have any answers, but I just wanted to share my experience with you. So, Luke, thank you for inviting me. I think there are two things I probably just want to conclude, is that partnership is absolutely so important. I am an absolute advocate. My hashtag has been Together We Can. That has been magpied by Dr. Mum, I'm proud to say. I absolutely believe that together we can achieve great things. And it's not always easy. Blooming heck, it's really not easy, particularly if you're trying to convince people who just don't get it. It's painful when you're in a room like this, and we all know how important arts and culture is. We don't have to tell each other, we just get it. When you're dealing with people who really don't get it, it's really, really difficult. But what you need to do is develop the tools to speak in their language. So give them data. Give them what they understand is demonstrating the value of what it is we're doing, even if it bulks what our passion is about. If they want to know the social return on investment for a gallery, if they want to know those numbers, then it's our job to find a way of giving them to them, because that's the way that we'll sustain investment. The last thing I actually want to refer back to right at the beginning, with your song, when you said, I don't believe that you believe what I believe is true. I wrote that down because I think partnership is really important. But I also think holding on to your own vision is really important too. Collaboration, being flexible, those things we have to be. But sometimes you just have to hold on to what you believe is true and what you believe will work. And you may well come to many closed doors, but I appeal to you to hold on to your dreams and your visions and share those dreams and share those visions, and don't let others, don't let naysayers, don't let doubters, who often have a much more powerful voice than those who are positively trying to push things forward. Don't let them stop you. I'm going to finish there.